Good afternoon and happy Halloween. So, discussion week 5, speculative fiction. I can't say this is a genre that I read widely and personally, but I have read a few speculative fiction authors, primarily Octavia Butler. She's one of my favorites. But I'd always be interested in expanding my reading horizons. So I will say I did enjoy I read the Neil Gaiman short story, How to Talk to Girls at Parties, and I did find that pretty enjoyable, but I'll get into that in a few minutes. Um, so, considering the first question about elements of speculative fiction and the concepts of world building, I feel like where audience and author voice are concerned with speculative fiction, the audience can really be anybody of any age or group. It's all about, in my opinion, answering the question like the module resources said, what if? Um, you know, Anything that seems plausible, you can explore that. And I think speculative fiction gives you the, I guess, framework to do that. And I think a lot of that has to do with where world building comes into it. If you create a world that allows for these questions to be answered and explored, that makes for a more, I guess, rich experience where the reader is concerned. Author voice, I feel like the author voice can be any perspective, really. I think Gaiman uses first person. The guy that narrates it is telling the story um, 30 years forward from when it happened. But, I guess the same applies to it as far as developing a distinctive voice that sounds believable and engaging. I don't know, those are my takeaways about the elements of speculative fiction. But with world building, I really found the Melinda Lowe article to be helpful because I have used that Patricia Weir, I think, world building template that she references, and it's like 37 pages long. But I like that Lowe kind of condenses it to just 5 main things that you should focus on when it comes to developing your world, and then you can always build on that and add to it in more detail. So I did find that to be helpful when considering how world building comes into speculative fiction. It's about making it believable and also how the characters relate to it, not just like having it be there like, a world that you would experience yourself, but how is it original to the characters and their perception of it. So I guess I would kind of explain how all those elements go together in speculative fiction. Um, as a genre and how the story that we read this week fit in, Gaiman's story in particular, I wouldn't have thought that it was speculative fiction from just the beginning of it because it seemed like a normal setting, two teenage boys going to a party wanting to talk to girls. And it seemed pretty mundane and, just normal. You would think it was just like maybe a contemporary or YA story, but then once they get to the party, it's where the weird stuff starts coming into play. And I read something that said one of the key points of the story was when the guy says, it's not like girls are from another planet. And that actually turns out to be the case in the story. So I thought that was pretty humorous. I enjoyed it. It totally seemed like it could be something that happened. It wasn't really hard to suspend my disbelief, but the way Gaiman presented the events that happen, like the guys just talking to girls and they're all really strange, and you know the things that they're saying, it kind of sounds like they're not quite from Earth or like regular girls. So, and then I like that he leaves a lot to the reader's imagination to speculate on the ending. We never really know exactly what his friend saw, but it had to be something pretty horrifying. So, those are just some of my thoughts on speculative fiction. I like that there's a lot of room for exploration about like deeper themes and ideas, and you can be as creative as you want when it comes to creating your world and your characters and their experiences. You can blend a variety of genres, science fiction and fantasy, horror. Um, there are a lot of opportunities to be creative. So, um, those are my thoughts on speculative fiction, and I look forward to discussing more with you as the week goes on. Have a nice day. Bye.